All right, Kendrys Vasquez, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, JP. I'm very grateful to be able to be here today to speak about, something that is very important to all of us.
Me too. Me too. I've been trying to interview more parents who've been going through the whole experience of TSW because this condition seems to just spread and touch everybody's lives of people who surround it. So, um, I was introduced to you. I just kind of saw you in the background of Kelly Barta's online meeting, and I was like, "This guy seems really interesting. I want to talk to him." And mainly because you're a former mayor of the town of Lawrence in Massachusetts. Is that correct?
That is
2021.
correct. Yes, so I had the
Beautiful.
opportunity to serve both as mayor and city councilor for the city of Lawrence, Massachusetts, for combined for almost 12 years.
Wow. Wow. And I also saw I was creeping on your LinkedIn page, and I saw you've been involved in all sorts of different community activism groups and foster care, and it just seems like you're the perfect person to come step into this community because you care about your community, you care about children, you care about, it seems like to me you stepping up for what seems right to you. And was just want to give the floor to you if you want to talk a little bit about yourself, your background, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So, it seems like you mentioned a couple of things about who I am already. But most importantly, I'm a father. I'm a proud father of two beautiful kids. Amir, who's currently experiencing TSW, he's only 6. And my beautiful daughter, Amaya, she is 4 and has eczema. So we are working diligently to ensure that she will not have to experience TSW by, having a different approach to her eczema healing and supporting my 6-year-old Amir with his, TSW healing process. But professionally, I had the great honor of my life to serve as an elected official for almost 12 years, first as a city councilor and eventually city council president, and finally as the interim mayor for the city of Lawrence, Massachusetts. But I've also worked in the field of adult foster care, group adult foster care, and adult foster care, which is an opportunity to serve individuals that have disabilities in their homes, providing them with the necessary support, whether that is case management, nursing care, or anything that it's to be able to ease their comfort in the house. So primarily, most of the folks that are in that type of program, they are individuals that have certain levels of abilities in which they can continue to, attend school, go to work, but they need assistance with activities of daily living like bathing, dressing, or even feeding themselves.
Got you. Wow, yeah. My sister had a little similar job to that, and she kind of works with adults on the spectrum and counseling and stuff like that. So it's cool that you're involved with that as well. I was curious to kind of know more about your children, specifically Amir, and how this whole thing developed with eczema versus TSW. And for people who are just listening for the first time, we're talking about a condition called topical steroid withdrawal, where there's a big debate between patients and the sort of, I guess, the system you would call it that's being put up to treat eczema. So you have a large group of people that are saying that no, these topical glucocorticoids are very damaging, and we're having a lot of issues with it. And that's sort of an issue that we're dealing with, both of us right now, with advocacy. So I'd love to know more about Amir and your experience as a parent.
Sure. So Amir was first diagnosed with eczema when he was 18 months old, so a year and a half approximately. And, we were told that this is something that will go away on its own. We didn't really need to do much about it. He will outgrow it. And as a result, just put on this cream and everything will be solved by itself. So we did follow guidance and recommendations given by doctors at that time, and we started applying the cream that was suggested. In this case, it was hydrocortisone 2.5%. That was the first steroid that we used on his skin. And we continue doing so until approximately July 2024. So for almost 3 years, or approximately, we used steroids on my son's body on and off. So it was not a constant application, but we continue to apply it based on the recommendations of the doctors. Because again, this is just a flare. It's okay. The potency is a little higher this time around, but he needs a steroid to be able to heal his eczema. Um, as parents, we were concerned, but we also wanted relief for my son, and we were following guidance as provided to us. Eventually, in January of 2024, that's when we were starting to realize, hey, this is getting serious, more serious. Each time we applied the steroids, we noticed that he has a flare.
The JP Touchette podcast is brought to you by Compadre. Love every walk. Do you have a strong and willful pulling dog? Well, not anymore. Compadre, the makers of the patented no-pull solution, have created a humane harness and leash system to help train against pulling and lunging behaviors. Compadre believes that you don't have to hurt a dog or break their beautiful spirit in order to get them to be good citizens on a leash. Gentle corrections around the strongest part of a dog's anatomy, the chest, means that you can guide and train your dog without painful pinch collars, e-collars, or choke chains. This system helps you to gain your dog's attention and lead them to walk calmly beside you. And if you use promo code JPT2025, you can get 10% off your order. And I can tell you from experience, you'll be glad you did. Seriously, guys, I have actually had a chance to try this myself, not on me, but on a big dog with a huge personality and a lot of energy. And this is a legit product that I actually believe in, and I believe in the owner's mission as well. This is an excellent company, and if you want to change the way that you are walking with your dog, this is the way to go. So if you want to see why dog trainers, pet owners, and vets love Compadre, then visit compadre.com. That's COMPAWDRE.com. Thanks, y'all. Peace.
We will stop it based on the recommendation. You apply for 2 weeks, you stop it. And things will just simply get worse each time. So between my wife and I, we started to talk among ourselves and started to do, research on how or why this could be happening. So when we come to the doctors, we will eventually, have more valuable insight, medically speaking, as to how we can heal him. So we learned that, this could be a microbiome imbalance. We started to read about, gut health, which is something that I had no knowledge of in the past. How to properly eat, irritants in the house, testing for mold, et cetera, et cetera. So we started to discuss all of this in the doctor's office. And each time we talked about it, they kept saying, do not waste your time and energy doing all that research, because at the end of the day, this is just going to go away on its own. Just apply the cream that we are suggesting and things will improve. But that was not the case. It was never improving, JP.
Right.
And there was a time in which he started to ooze from his skin. We were concerned. We were told, go find doctors in X state, in X country. So as a result of that, we booked appointments literally throughout the country. We had appointments booked in Colorado, appointment books in Chicago, in New York. We went to the Dominican Republic to try to get some relief. We eventually flew to Europe, and we spent our summer in Italy. And that's when we learned what TSW was. So it's something that we had to learn outside of our home, outside of our comfort, just trying to do what was best for my child.
Okay, I think this is a really there's a couple points I really want to touch on and emphasize in what you've just been saying, because I've had I suppose, a privilege to speak with a lot of doctors and kind of get their point of view of things, and I don't necessarily disagree with all of it, but like, for example, one of their points is that, and they should say this, like, an expert in glucocorticoids should emphasize that you need to be very careful with the use of glucocorticoids. If we prescribe this cream for this specific purpose, don't use it for that purpose. And um, these experts, they know all about the different potencies and such and stuff like that. But it seems like they're kind of putting that blame on the parent, the patient, as like, you know, you used it wrong, or you didn't follow the directions exactly. But what you're telling me is that you and your family specifically followed the directions of the doctor because you trusted that they were the ones who knew what was right for Amir. Is that correct?
That is correct. And you know, we try to follow every step as we were told. But each time that we stopped using the steroid because we were told, do it for 2 weeks, do it specifically this amount, for this long, et cetera, we will do all of that. A couple of days after we stop, there will be a flare up, and there will be eczema in areas, or what we thought was eczema in areas where he didn't have before. And we will connect with the doctor, start the conversation again. Hey, we noticed that now there's signs of eczema in different parts of his body. Okay, so let's follow the same process in that new area, and it will heal. Yes, as we were putting on the steroid, it will, you know, and I'm going to quote here, quote unquote, heal him. Because, yeah, the skin will be smooth, everything will be almost perfect. But
Right.
at the end of the day, the moment that we stopped, everything went backwards. And we will have to restart the cycle. And we will just continue to follow directions until at some point, it was my wife who said, we should stop using steroids, point blank. But little did we know, you know, the impact it will have. And we didn't understand TSW at that time. We didn't know what it was. So we had a lot of, you know, learning to do as we transition from following directions, medical directions, to figuring it out on our own.
Oh, yeah. And this is really what I want to pin down here. And I'm really glad you brought up that this is what the doctors were saying. And I had a similar experience when I was treating my eczema with glucocorticoids. Is your skin's just bad, um, and we need this cream to make it better, and everything's going to be fine. Uh, and what I'm hearing is two different conflicting points of view. Like, you'll either have someone who comes in with eczema and the doctor will say, you're just going to have this for the rest of your life. Therefore, you're going to need this glucocorticoid, this immunosuppressant, this injection down the road. And that's its own self-fulfilling prophecy. And then what I'm hearing from you is that he's going to grow out of this. So therefore, we need this glucocorticoid, this thing, but it just keeps getting worse and worse. And I don't understand that. And even with some of the experts in glucocorticoids, they unequivocally say that this is not ever going to solve the problem. This is only for symptom relief. So I don't understand, and I would like to hear your thoughts on this, why glucocorticoids are being used as if they're going to heal. And that to me is the essence of the issue. This is for symptom relief. It is for short term. There are a litany of side effects. If you read the fine print, why are doctors allowing this to be re-prescribed over and over again. And it sounds like that was what it was, is that you would go back to the doctor, let's try this higher dose. Is that what happened with you and Amir?
That is definitely what happened, and I think that doctors are in a challenging position, because each time we talked about something outside of um, his skin health, um, understanding that this is the largest organ any human has. Yeah, we wanted to address his skin health, but keep in mind, back in January of 2024, we started to learn about gut health and microbiome and the impact it has in skin health. And as we were bringing up that conversation, they will always say this is not relatable. All of the research that you have read about is non-conclusive. It's not something that we can take into account for the skin healing. So focus in our attention in what we're telling you, because this is what is in front of my books. And my books tell me that this is how we're going to go about this condition. And so I think that this is where the advocacy and awareness comes in. As individuals that have, loved ones, going through TSW, patients like yourself that have experienced TSW, need to maintain that awareness. And each time that we are in front of a doctor, in front of elected officials, talk about this concern, that this is serious and we need to go back to the drawing board and retrain our medical professionals in this condition. But in order to do so, there's so much work that needs to happen, both at state and federal level, to be able to transition the learning and training and ensure that there's papers submitted in that will enable us to have this conversation at that medical level, research paper, I mean. And it's important to be able to have those dialogues with them. But unless they're trained differently, unless they're provided with new information from the medical community, they will continue to treat it as just hey, the cream will solve the problem. So we need to maintain that advocacy. We need to continue to raise awareness and communicate with the medical community about what our loved ones and what anyone experiencing TSW is going through. Don't stay silent. Speak up about how you feel, what you're experiencing, because something that I've noticed in this process, at least locally here, is that a lot of folks are probably going through TSW or have experienced TSW, yet they did not even know about it themselves. So they will not be able to speak, up about something that they're not familiar with. So we need to both educate families and TSW warriors and educate the medical community on the condition. So, we have to tackle it from two different approaches.
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very well said. And I especially like what you said about this stuff is still in the books. And when I spoke with Commander Ian Miles from the NIH, that's what he was saying, is like they have specific protocols to treat eczema. It's use glucocorticoids. And if a little doesn't work, use a lot. And another thing you said is, you're a former mayor, you've had a successful business career. And so it's not like, you're just stuck with some anybody corner pharmacist. No, you went to extreme lengths to find people who could help your son. You went to all these different states. You went to different countries. You have the resources to do so. And still, most of these people did not have the answers. And what that tells me is that just like with mastering any subject, whether it's, I'm a drummer, whether it's drumming or you're playing another instrument or you're shooting or anything like that, if something is so messed up, you have to go back to the fundamentals of how to hold a stick, how to hold a firearm, anything like that. And I feel like there is a serious misunderstanding of not only how to treat eczema, but what even is eczema, how is it caused, and the long-term ramifications of what we use. Yeah, and just treating everything as a symptom treatment and then seeing that as it's good enough is just I think especially our children deserve more than that. And speaking of children, I would, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to hear more about Amir and what his experience was with this.
Sure. So Amir, I think he's my hero. Just to let you know, everything that he has endured is um, significant. I don't think that I will have been able to go through everything he has gone through. Um, Amir spent nights without sleep, and when I say nights, is easily over 3 months in which he was sleeping no more than 2 hours. Um, Due to the itching, due to the discomfort, because it didn't matter how he was positioning himself, the discomfort was just unbearable. The amount of oozing, and the way that I explain it to people that have not or have never seen a person ooze, it's that if you go into a sauna and you start sweating, then you pat yourself dry, your sweat, you're done. Your sweat is gone. Amir will be oozing, so it's constant flow of liquid coming down his throat, his arm, and legs. And it didn't matter how often we pat him dry, it will continue to flow in his body for hours nonstop. The redness, the thick skin, being unable to use the bathroom himself, because there was a time in which he couldn't get up from the couch, and we literally had to lift him up to bring him to the bathroom and do what was needed. He could not touch water because it will sting, it will burn him, and it extremely challenging. As a result of this, Amir was unable to go to school at the beginning of this school year. He had to be home, and I'm fortunate that my sister-in-law, my wife, and I, between the four of us, we created a homeschool plan for him. And the school that he attends was very supportive in providing us with the material. And we would just teach him when he was able to, feel strong enough to be taught. Because as you're going through this, you don't want to be talked about schooling or learning. But nonetheless, he continued to strive, and he learned to read and write in 2 languages. So he's reading and writing in English and Spanish perfectly. And as when he was able to return back to school, we were concerned that he was going to be behind, in comparisons to his peers. But no, he's thriving and he's doing well. He's not fully healed yet, but it was a difficult process that he endured, especially the nighttime. For some reason, during the day, he might have been doing okay. He could have been playing and enjoying life within, all of the challenges that he had. But the moment the sun set, everything shifted. The itching quadruple. And we were never able to figure it out at that moment, and we would just do what was best.
Okay, well, this is a really interesting opportunity. I get to speak to your son, Amir, man. This is really cool. Nice to meet you, Amir. Thank you for talking with me.
You're welcome.
Amir, can you tell me a little bit about what TSW was like for you and how it felt and how it impacted your life?
So
How did TSW impact you? How was over the summer? Do you sleep well?
no,
How was
the
sleeping for
worst
you?
thing. Very bad.
Why?
I don't know.
Were you able to sleep for a long time?
Very short time.
And what did you do when you woke up in the middle of the night?
I don't remember because that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Very long time ago.
But when you're talking to your friends, how do you tell your friends what TSW is?
Couldn't even tell them that much.
You're not telling them?
No, I couldn't tell them that much.
Why?
Yeah.
Why couldn't tell them before what it was?
Because I couldn't go to school.
Because you couldn't go to school, right?
No.
So where were you?
At home. I used to stay at home. And this was the worst part. I couldn't move, right?
Yeah, you couldn't move. And what happened when you
I
couldn't
couldn't
move?
go to the bathroom. What couldn't I do?
Could you play?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Definitely not. I
No.
was trying.
And is it itchy or not itchy? How does your skin looks?
My skin looks better now, but it used to look very bad. This is how TSW began. So I had eczemas. Eczemas is like a rash. We used to use steroids, but steroids is not good at all. Steroids is a cream that is not good. You get better in 3 days and you get worse.
Okay, so you felt like you were putting it on, and it felt like it helped you, and then
Yeah.
it would come right back. How did that feel? What was going through your head when it kept coming back?
Like when it was getting better, we were just celebrating, and yeah, but then we noticed something, and
You're doing fantastic. So JP's one thing is that he mentioned each time we notice he will improve, we will celebrate. We like to celebrate our small wins, and we will celebrate. And the celebration will last a couple of days. You know, he used, I don't know, how many days, Amir, you think?
maybe 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah, for like 1 or 2 weeks. And we will be happy and we will celebrate. And then after that, we will have to restart the process again.
Again and again and again and again. And we were trying each steroid, and we did not know that was steroid. Then when we noticed of a Chinese traditional doctor, she told us that yeah.
Is it difficult for you to talk about, Amir? Is it like uncomfortable for you to remember?
It's like difficult to remember.
Wow, I think Amir is my hero too, because as a 20-something-year-old guy, an adult going through that, and some of the almost everything you just said, I've also been through, and I remember as a grown man crying my eyes out because I had to go to bed. And the fact that you're telling me he was able to learn and strive and keep going, that's incredible. So I hope, I'm sure you know that you've got a very special young man there.
Yes.
Wow.
And I think that the most impactful thing about Amir is that regardless of his condition and everything that he has gone through, he has provided us as adults guidance on how to assist them during the process. He's only 6 years old, but he has been vocal as to what we can do to support his needs. And I think that has been the most valuable lesson that I could gain as an adult here and as his father, is that he has expressed how he wants to be assisted. Because oftentimes as a dad, I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, I just got to do what I got to do. But he will say, okay, if we go this direction, hold me here, I'll be able to feel more comfortable if you grab my hand this way. Little things like that showed how strong he is, because he knew that I didn't know, but that I wanted to help. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
he provided me
That's
the
wise.
guidance on how to properly help him during that challenging process. And he, even for bathing, when we started traditional Chinese medicine, as part of the process, he has to go into a bathtub, and he will tell me, Dad, how about if we start with one hand only, and I'll push through and I'll stay 15 minutes with my hand in the water, and then we'll do The next day we'll do the other hand, and eventually we'll do one leg and the other leg, and until I could get my whole body in it. And he will provide me the guidance as to how to help him get to the point where we are today. There was a time in which it was extremely hot. So remember, I mentioned to you that we were in Italy. Italy, in the summer months, it gets extremely hot. And out of nowhere, he said, "Can you please bring wet towels and literally just throw them on top of me, because I am burning, and I feel that that's the only thing that will provide me comfort." Now, as a dad, after I did a little bit of research of the wet wraps, I have mixed feeling about it due to bacteria overgrowth, etc. But at the beginning, that was the only way that we could provide him relief, and he came up with that idea himself.
Wow.
I never thought about it. It's not something that I read. He just simply said, "Bring me wet towels and wrap me around those wet towels." And the first night that he slept for 4 hours, it was that night, after he was
Wow.
wrapped in those towels. And
Wow.
that was his idea. He was as desperate as I was to find relief, and he was providing us guidance as to how to go about it.
It's amazing. And how is Amir managing with his condition now? Because there's a plethora of different ways of managing it. Some people just go on Dupixent and they go, "I don't have time for this." Other people, like myself, I did traditional Chinese medicine with Olivia Friedman. And other people, they'll do like CAP therapy. And then another thing I did is just manage irritants in the home and be religious about that. Is he finding these different things that work for him now, or do you think he's kind of like almost
So
back to
so
normal?
we've done a couple of things. We have changed his diet completely. So we've gone gluten free for him, egg free, milk free, and as you said, also managing all of the irritants in the house.
Okay.
So we have an air purifier in his bedroom. We make sure that we change all of the bed sheets, every day, if not possible, every other day. We're washing his clothes with detergent that is completely irritant free and clear. So those are things that we've taken. Those are steps we've taken in the house. Now, in terms of his actual health, we have gone to Dr. Lee in New York. Not sure if you've heard of Dr. Lee, a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. We started with her in mid-September of 2024. And after we began working closely with her, we started to notice healing for Amir. And as a result of that, after maybe 2 months or so, he started to sleep better. The oozing has essentially completely stopped. Oozing is gone, I will say, 100%. The itching is still there. There are certain parts of his body that you could tell are not fully healed. But he has, I think, made a significant change from September up to this point now in February. So the last couple of months, we have seen great improvements thanks to the traditional Chinese medicine. And as you mentioned, there's different avenues for healing. There's not just one way to go about it. I think that at the end of the day, it comes back to what you are more comfortable with in your own approach, as well as potentially even the finances behind it. Traditional Chinese medicine is costly, and not everyone can afford it. CAP therapy is costly, but there are some other things that we implemented that have been beneficial to us, and things that are within budget, such as a trampoline for the lymphatic system.
Hmm.
He had lymph nodes all throughout his body, and it was recommended that he will start using a trampoline. minimally, 10 minutes per day. And, there's some research I started to read about it, and the bouncing effect gets you to drain your lymph nodes. So that was something very interesting for us to learn. And right now he only has lymph nodes in, close to his private areas. Whatever he had here in the neck, it's gone. And, anything
Wow.
that he had in, in his armpit area, it's gone. Only his private continues to have a little bit. And I would recommend folks looking into that. In addition to that, we are doing grounding. Grounding has helped significantly in the reduction of his inflammation in the body. So we have a grounding sheet that it's in his bed. He sleeps with that all day, all night. That has been very helpful. When possible, he will walk barefoot, and he understands that this is, not just for fun, but also for healing. And we've noticed inflammation has gone down significantly. And now the majority of my family is grounding as well, because we've learned that there's significant benefits for that. So there's multiple avenues, JP, for things that could be done. That's what we've done. It's been working since we started in September, making those changes at home.
That's really cool. And I just want to caveat this rather for the audience, that especially with diet stuff, and I'm glad to see that it's working for Amir, but that stuff, just do what you think is right for you and be responsible with that. I don't want to say that everyone with TSW should go this free or that free with food, but the trampoline one, I've never heard of that. I think I'm going to have to, I don't have a trampoline, but I have to find something to jump on. That's really interesting. And then for the grounding, how are you doing that at home during the winter? Do you have like
we have a grounding sheet that we purchased on Amazon. And, we literally put it over the bed, and he sleeps on top of that.
What is it made of?
So the specific on what it's made of, I don't know, but I could provide you the information if you like that way. But it's just literally a small sheet, electrons that provide you that grounding experience as if you were walking barefoot.
Okay, I got you. Because I had associated grounding with like going and putting your bare feet in the grass on the earth, and I was like, do they have like a little terrarium in there to like stomp around?
Yeah, so you could. So that's the idea. So
Okay.
So the idea of grounding is putting your bare foot on the floor, but not just like on the floor at home, your hardwood, but rather outside. But because it's cold, they have created these grounding sheets that you could put literally on the bed, or in your house, anywhere, and it will allow you to have the same effect as if you were doing grounding outdoors.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I think it's so backwards that we live in a time where all these like new fancy treatments and healing techniques seem like kind of woo-woo to a lot of people. However, they're just the most simple things, like go outside more, don't eat crap all the time, but like move your body. It's like that it just tells me how wrong we've got it in certain ways. And I think my personal opinion, I don't have any evidence, but I think there's just the way that we've constructed society is just making people sick, and then we make them sicker with the wrong medicines for the wrong people.
Yeah. So and I think that if we go back to how it was hundreds of years ago, it was all about being as natural as you can, given the resources that you have. And that's what we're aiming to do as a family, is just simply have a healthier lifestyle. And by a healthier lifestyle doesn't mean go and break the bank, but no, create better habits. For instance, I have my glass of water here. I was not necessarily a water drinker, and now I try to aim to drink water frequently. So it's about changing our lifestyle. And oftentimes, and I think that this is what has been projected here in our society, is that, hey, if I want to be healthy, I also have to break the bank and spend all the money in the world. No,
Yeah.
there's plenty of ways for us to be healthy, and be creative on how we take care of our health without breaking the bank. And the trampoline for me, that was a big one, because we really were concerned about the lymph nodes, and the doctors are like, yeah, we'll give you medication, et cetera, et cetera. And then, no, let's go the natural way.
Hmm.
And we started researching. There was a holistic doctor that we spoke to. They said, bouncing will do it. I'm like, oh, bouncing, trampoline. I connected the dots, and that's how we started.
I'm definitely gonna try
And I'm
that
not a
now because
doctor,
yeah.
so don't.
But
I don't want folks listening to think that I'm saying that this is the solution. It's what has worked for us.
of course, and I totally agree. I thank you for saying that because many different things work for many different people. But that's something I've been worried about as well. Is that like I still have very swollen lymph nodes in the same areas that Amir had, and that's terrifying if that's there for too long. And oof, but I definitely want to try that. And yeah, and thank you also for saying that. I think that one of the biggest, like the whole greenwashing thing and the whole like appealing to people's quote granola values in order to get them to spend more money is it's just as sick as the greediness in the pharmaceutical industry. It's like air is free, the ground is free, meditation is free, and
Mm,
all of those things can be highly effective.
definitely.
And one thing I think is really interesting in a more scientific manner is the fact that you have two children, one who is not on glucocorticoids, and I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about how Amaya is doing without that stuff, and what you've decided to use instead.
So for Amaya, given the experience that we had with Amir, her eczema started, I would say maybe like a year and a half ago or so. So she's only 4, so approximately when she was 2.5, yeah, about 2.5, yeah. So we were not so inclined to give her steroids for one reason or another. Again, we didn't know anything about TSW at that time, but we were not so inclined, and we were like, hey, her eczema is relatively mild. We're just gonna let it run its course and see where it goes, how far we get there. Um, but we've learned about and I want to be very cautious. Can I mention a brand here, or
Yeah, for sure.
okay? So we learned about Scratchy. I don't know if you're familiar with Scratchy.
No.
It's a holistic branch. It's a family that lives in Florida, and they started their own products to be able to assist their son heal from eczema. So we started to see, and learn about this product, do some research about it, and we decided that it was a good investment for Amaya, and we have been using it with her, and it has helped significantly. Anytime she has a small flare, we will use Scratchy, and we have seen very positive results. No steroids whatsoever, 100% natural products. And that's the way that I think we should try to heal ourselves. With natural products. I'm not saying it has to be this brand in particular, but things that are natural, that will be beneficial to our body. But we've
Yeah,
been using that, and it's been very, very, helpful.
that's so awesome to hear. And again, like I don't want to demonize. I don't think it's black and white. Like I don't want. I'm sure some doctors, maybe some dermatologists, might get angry if they have. I don't think anyone is listening, but if they happen to be listening to this, I don't want to demonize dermatology or allergists or anything like that. And I don't think that glucocorticoids should be banned forever. I mean, I think that they are certainly effective at reducing inflammation, but I don't think it should be the first course of action. I mean, it seems it's a medicine that obliterates inflammation, and but it has consequences. And to hear that that you're just being more cautious about it. I don't hear from you that you that you are thinking in black and white terms, and that's not what people are who are advocating for TSW are saying. Like, and maybe the next question should be about your advocacy and what we're advocating for. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey with that and how that's been?
Sure. So I think it's like you're saying. At the end of the day, if doctors have, I think that they're well intentioned. They want people to be healed. I think that they went into that profession because they care. So they're not doing this to harm humanity, but rather because this is what they have been taught over the years. This is the research that has been presented to them. This is the information that they have and that they can offer. And on top of that, for a doctor will see you for, I don't know, 7-15 minutes maximum. So they don't really have that opportunity to engage with you, to fully discuss what you're experiencing. So whether we want to or not, they're going to be quick and they're going to say, this is what I believe will be best. But I think that there should be an opportunity for them to be offered different avenues for healing. And it has to be taken on a holistic approach. We understand that the skin is our largest organ. So given that it's our largest organ, it is definitely connected to the rest of our system from within. Whatever we have on the exterior, in my personal opinion, it's a reflection of what's inside. So if we are struggling with our skin, it's because something is probably not doing well internally. So it's important to find out what is going on internally. And doctors might not have the time during that 7 to 15 minutes appointment to go deep into that conversation. So it is up to us to be as educated as possible to provide them guidance as to what we want with our bodies and what testing we wish to be done and conducted. And if a person is 100% firm on the fact that they don't want to use steroid, also be firm about it and tell your doctor, I don't want that to be prescribed. Help me find an alternative treatment for my care. When we started to be opposed to the steroid, we were prescribed Dupixent for my son. And we used it for 4 months. We didn't think that it was beneficial for him at that time. But we know that there's some other folks that it has been beneficial for them. So we discontinued Dupixent. We spoke to the doctor who prescribed it and said, we don't think that this is the avenue for healing. And that's where the advocacy and awareness comes in. But we're also trying to take it up to another level, working closely with ITSEN. We are pushing to get resolutions across the country, at least here in the United States. I believe you're in Canada, right, JP?
Yeah, but I passed mine in Maine.
In Maine.
That's my home
Yes.
state.
So we are working closely with ITSEN now to try to continue to do what you did in Maine. So here in Massachusetts this month, we were able to get a resolution of awareness, so we're now moving on to the state of Rhode Island. At this point, I'm working with a city councilor in a city in Rhode Island to get a city resolution, not a state resolution, but he has committed to connecting us to state senators and state representatives to get a Rhode Island resolution as well. From the state of Rhode Island. But we will start with the city resolution. And the idea behind this is to be able to raise that awareness countrywide. Because once we have to go to the federal level, we're going to have some backing saying X number of states are saying that this is, important. There's awareness behind it. And we will have a much greater backing. Anytime you're trying to make any legislative changes at any level of government, the greater support you have, the more likely it will be for change to happen. So folks have been asking, yeah, but it's a non-binding document, meaning that the law didn't change. Doctors don't have to abide or change the way that they're practicing medicine. That is correct. None of these resolutions are asking for that. These resolutions are more informative and to be able to raise awareness at the state level. And at the moment that we are prepared as a community, both caregivers and patients, we will have to start presenting bills. And those bills will come with, specific language to improve the life of individuals experiencing TSW and to prevent TSW from happening to other individuals, because this is a preventable condition. And if we can prevent it, why not? No other individuals should be suffering if we can put a stop to it or minimize, the damage that it causes to the folks that have experienced TSW.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really glad you're on the mission, man, and I appreciate all of the critical thinking that's going on. We've you can't just trust anything, and you have to be, like you said, informed. You can harm yourself with herbs, and glucocorticoids they come from a plant. They're just made in a pharmaceutical lab, and and I think that when more and more people go into their doctor's offices, and let's say they have a resolution with them, yes, it doesn't have a law binding yet, but they can have a legitimate document. And I just really hope that doctors will read it, because I keep hearing horror stories of people come in with studies and they come in with all these papers, and the doctors will just toss it aside. And maybe that's a byproduct of a lot of patients not being respectful in the past. And I'm sorry for that, but this is a real issue. And I sincerely hope that people who are listening to this, if you're in America, we have the power to stand up and make a difference. And it's just like you said, it's not up to these other people to fix it for you. It's up to us. We're of the people, by the people, for the people.
And I'll tell you one thing, JP, is I think that legislators across the board, they're well-intentioned. And I think that they want to do what's right, but they're not going to be able to do what's right unless they're provided with information. Mm-hmm. And it is up to us to bring that information to them. There's plenty of research papers. There's plenty of doctors that are healing individuals, whether it is in traditional Chinese medication, with holistic approaches, as well as, some traditional medicine here from the West that is, helping folks heal. But unless the community comes together and works as a team and presents these ideas to the individuals that have the ability to make change, nothing will happen. And I know it's not an easy task, and oftentimes it moves very slow, slower than what we want, but we just have to keep pushing and take it one day at a time, understanding that change will happen if we work together and we continue to make those calls. My wife and I had the opportunity to go to Washington last week. As a matter of fact, we were participating in an event at the Capitol building. And while we were there, I said, look, I know that I came for this specific event, but I'm going to take time away from this event, and I'm going to go introduce myself to as many members of Congress as I can. And from those conversations, we already have one meeting scheduled for next week to talk about TSW with the Office of a Congresswoman. And there's another one that I'm trying to, finalize the details as to when it will happen. So from those conversations, and me not paying attention in my actual event that I walked away from to speak to members of Congress, I think it was worth it. We're going to be able to have those dialogues, and Kelly will be participating in the conversation as well. I invited her to be part of that. I'm excited that she was able to join. She's excited about possible outcomes from this, and that's the idea. It's about having those conversations. It's about talking. And folks listening probably will say, yeah, but I don't have access to my member of Congress. Well, guess what? As an American, we all have access to our members of Congress. They work for us. All you have to do is pick up your phone, or if you're not someone that likes to talk on the phone, send them an email and share what you're going through. The more calls and the more emails that members of Congress receive, the more serious they're going to be about a subject. And that's why we need to continue to have that push to call your member of Congress, request a resolution, or if they're not able to present a resolution, get them to make a public statement about TSW, to recognize that we have thousands of individuals going through this today in our communities. So provide them your story, share, don't be afraid. And I know it's not an easy thing to ask, but it is possible. And if individuals need guidance, there's plenty of resources. EdSend has been a fantastic resource to connect folks with their members of Congress and elected officials locally. Go into their website, and find additional information from them.
Yeah. Just to clarify for the audience, that's ITSAN is ITSAN.org. You can do /advocate or advocate, and you'll see that there's a kit already built for you where all you have to do is find who your Congress people are, and you just send them this mock-up letter, fill in the blanks of what their name is, the state, and everything, and you have letters, you have follow-ups, you have the resolution written for you. It is written. And for me, I was incredibly surprised at how amicable my senators were in Maine. I mean, just like you said, I mean, you're a living example of this, is that people get involved with this stuff because they care about their communities. And if they see especially children going through what Amir went through and just the amount of suffering, they're going to listen. They better listen, right?
And oftentimes, let's make it very simple. When I was an elected official, I will tell my constituents at that time that I was one, but there were thousands of them. And if there was a concern with a pothole, remember, I was a city councilor, so I would have concerns with potholes, electric poles, a tree, stop signs, etc. I will say, yes, I agree with you. I am responsible to try to address that concern that you're having, but I don't drive in that street daily. We have hundreds of streets in the city, and I don't have the ability to drive every day through every single street. So if you are going over that pothole on a daily basis and you are not notifying folks that this is impacting you, I am unable to find out. So help me help you by notifying me that the pothole exists. So in this case, folks listening are going to be like, oh, yeah, it's easy for you to say. Yes, because we're all in it together. If it's impacting you as an individual, you have to make the noise for them to find out that this is a concern, that this is an issue. And if there's thousands of us repeating the same thing over and over again, someone will have to listen. So let's make those calls. Let's send those emails. Let's speak up about what we're experiencing, whether you're a parent or someone experiencing TSW yourself. Send that email, make that call. It will make a difference. It will.
Absolutely. And for anyone who's listening in a different state right now and you have no idea what we're talking about, go on to itsan.org and just look at some of the pictures of these kids and adults and senior citizens. And that should be enough for you to just send a letter. And I totally agree. Like, one thing that people forget, and we've said this maybe 5 times now, but I'll just say it again, is that the whole system of government is not just from the top down. If you really know your power as a citizen, which I think more people should know, is that it is a symbiotic relationship, right? Like, just like you said, you need those eyes and ears of the people out there in order to do your job. Or if you watch Downton Abbey and you look back into these old like lords who had these castles, they depended on their employees to do all of this work for them and be their eyes and ears and their workers. And in turn, they were their provider with wages and healthcare and all this stuff like that. And I think if we take that power back, we can stop stuff like this. We won't have to see kids like Amir or Colby Chun, who I did in the last episode, who are suffering so much. And I just really want to thank you again for coming on the show, Kendrys. I'm really glad that you're on the mission, and I'm let me know if there's anything I can do to help.
Definitely. No, we're just getting started. I think that there's so much work that needs to be done. My wife and I, and Amir and Amaya, we're opening our foundation. It's called Skin Heroes, to be able to also educate, provide awareness and advocacy, more on a local level, because there's so much that needs to happen. And we want to be able to do physical trainings for folks here. Things that have worked for us as a family, we want to be able to give back to our community. So we are trying to build that grassroots, and take it to the next level, but also support efforts throughout the country for families that need guidance. I think that we are at that point in which we're ready as a family. I know that at the beginning it was challenging because we were experiencing ourselves. My son is not fully healed, but my son is literally, if you were to see him, JP, it's beautiful. He takes this resolution, which is almost half of his height. It's a big piece of paper, but not it's framed. But he walks around with his resolution. He has actually had 2 engagements already since we picked up the resolution at the State House 2 weeks ago. He has had 2 engagements in which he went to speak first to his classmates, so a very small group. The second group, it was approximately 75 students that he shared what it means to have TSW and what this resolution meant for him and for the TSW community. So he is doing the advocacy and awareness himself. He is speaking to elected officials himself. And whenever we have the opportunity, we tag him along and he comes with us and is part of those conversations. Again, I have not experienced TSW. I wouldn't be able to speak about it myself, but he has. And the way that he shares his story is fascinating, because I wouldn't be able to, talk on his behalf the way he does. So
Yeah,
let's get out there.
Yeah, I saw some of those videos are really, really powerful. It's so cool to see kids like that speaking up. He's a really he's a role model even for me, man. So I wish you and your family the best, Kendrys, and thank you once again.
No, thank you for the opportunity, and best of luck to you and everyone listening.
Thank you so much.